All right, welcome back to the BMMAM podcast. I believe this is going to be episode 4. Now, on the horizon, we have fights we want to see in every division, so look out for that one. But for a little bit of fun in the meantime, I thought we could talk about who ends the year in each division as the UFC champion of the world. And to add a little bit more challenge to it, to think about how we actually get there. So we've got 11 divisions to cover, starting with the women's divisions. I'm obviously not going to bring women's featherweight into this. There's no way of resurrecting that dead donkey. I hope you're enjoying the format, and I've appreciated people hitting me up on Twitter at BANTAMWEIGHT. For those of you who still don't have me on there, you've been offering up some great suggestions for videos and giving me some suggestions on the video process itself. So really keep that up. So without any further ado, let's break this one down, starting with women's strawweight. All right, I expected this one to actually be quite simple until I actually got down to thinking about it. What's making me reluctant on this one is one simple factor, and that's will they make a super fight between Zhang Weili and Alexa Grasso, which is heavily being touted to take place at UFC 300? Which, to be fair, is a really intriguing matchup and one I personally wouldn't mind seeing. Now, the reason why I bring this one up specifically is because if this bout takes place, Zhang won't be defending her own strap until at least the third quarter of 2024. So in that scenario, I'd have to favor the champion to retain. However, I'm going to take this one on the basis that Weili doesn't move up, and we'll do the same for every division as kind of a self-imposed rule, or this one could get really, really messy. I believe that women's strawweight will end the year with Tatiana Suarez as the champion. I believe they're going to make an all-Chinese matchup to kick the title defenses off, with Weili defending the belt in a very tough matchup with Yan Xiaonan, which goes 5 rounds and potentially could be one of the female fights of the year. Really love that as a matchup. In the meantime, I expect Suarez to get some kind of title eliminator, setting things up for an end-of-year clash between the two winners. Now, do I think that Suarez is a better fighter than Weili? No, I categorically don't. However, there is something to be said about having that target on your back and coming up against wave after wave of hungry contenders that have never tasted that big check or had any pay-per-view points. So while I think that Weili is frankly the most well-rounded women's mixed martial artist currently on the roster, I think she's going to fall to Suarez in a very close 5-rounder. Suarez is really massive for the division. She can take a bit of a smack, and while Weili has greatly improved her wrestling, I think that Suarez is very big and very skilled down there. So I'm hoping to be wrong on this one, but to be honest, it's just how I see it going. All right, women's flyweight. This one is a little bit odd as well. Now, by all accounts, I'm guessing the UFC are going to be pushing hard for an immediate rematch between Shevchenko and Grasso, which I think actually shouldn't happen, not yet anyway. The trouble is, it really puts the division in a tight spot, as only the top 4 are really in contention, and I don't see anyone else breaking into that this year. It's probably the most shallow division in the UFC in terms of actual contenders. So Fiorot and Blanchfield, we already know are booked, and the winner should be rightfully in line for a shot. So on that side, as much as I'd like Blanchfield to win, and I do like her, unless there's a massive step up in her striking, I can see the beast being just a little bit too much for her. Hopefully this headlines a fight night in the back arse of nowhere, so that we can see them do 5 rounds and really get some championship experience. So with that contender set up, as much as I hate it, I do think they rebook Valentina and Grasso in probably the first quarter of 2024, where Valentina edges another one that goes 5 rounds. I then think we get a matchup between Fiorot and Shevchenko for a little later in the year, with Valentina being too well-rounded and ending the year as champion again in 2024. Now, for the record, I don't want this to happen. I'd much rather see Grasso or Blanchfield end the year as champion, but given the circumstances and how they are, again, it's just how I see things playing out. All right, women's bantamweight. Yeah. Do you know what? I'm going to take everything I just said about women's flyweight. This is the worst division in the UFC. It's worse than men's heavyweight. Who gives a damn who ends this trash heap as champion anyway? I'm really tempted to just ignore this, but you know what? Let's just quickly get it over with. I'm going to go with Mayra Bueno Silva. I think she's going to beat Pennington, who is at least scrappy and someone fun to watch. And then Juliana Pena spends the year complaining and moaning and manages to talk her way into a title fight at around the midpoint of the year and then gets absolutely battered, which is something that I'm personally really looking forward to. I really hate that insufferable woman. Hopefully Aldana and Vieira get a fight in at some point, and that results in Pena getting bypassed, which would be genuinely funny to me. But yeah, the way things are shaking up, I can see Bueno Silva getting the belt and potentially defending once against whoever ends the year out to remain as champion. As long as it's not Pena, I don't care who has the belt. Let's just move swiftly on. All right, men's flyweight. All right, let's bring the rankings up here and have a quick gander. Yeah, this one could be one of the easier ones again, and it kind of comes down to the depth of the division. For the record, I do think that Brandon Moreno is the best flyweight in the UFC, but I don't see a path to the belt for him in 2024. I think he's going to beat the brakes off Albazi or get done over in like the worst robbery of the year. I know that's a really strange prediction, but given what we already know about Albazi fights, the man's clearly got someone on his side. Probably God at this point. What we really need, in all honesty, is actually for Manel Cap to somehow beat Nicolau, which we know has been booked, and then to trash talk his way into an exciting fight with Pantoja. That would be absolutely sick. The problem is that I think Nicolau actually beats him, which, as much as I love Nicolau as a fighter, it's not really a ball tingler seeing him going up and fighting Pantoja, is it? Yeah, this is actually tougher than I thought. You know what? I'm going to go wild with this one, and I'm going to say that Cap manages to get past Nicolau and then beats Pantoja in a title fight to snatch the belt at the very end of the year. Now, the conventional choice would be to take Pantoja to end the year as champion, and I'm probably going to get blasted for this. I just think what Cap is what the division needs right now. He's going to bring the smack talk and the fight hype, and for a division that I consider to be so highly skilled, I think adding that little ingredient could do wonders for the division. I'm basically trying to wish this one into existence. So I'm going for Manel Starboy Cap to end the year as champion. All right, men's bantamweight. Yeah, this one's probably the most straightforward on the list for me. I think this is finally going to be the year of the Sandman. And I think the path is going to be pretty clear as well. Bantamweight at the moment is kind of the least log-jammed. So I think O'Malley's obviously going to defend the belt against Vera, which is a potential banana skin. But either way, I then think Corey's going to do a number on Umar if he can avoid getting robbed. So in other words, I'm saying, don't fight him in Saudi, bro. Then they do O'Malley Corey at the end of the year, where Corey basically matches him in the standing and then takes him down and beats the pink off him. Corey is an Aljo. He's way better standing and has a much better grappling game than Sean O'Malley. If this doesn't happen, it's because we finally know that Sugar is secretly Dana's son. All right, so men's featherweight. This is a really easy one for me as well. Featherweight for me is not really as deep as it once was in terms of legit championship contenders at the moment. The division will be back to being great in a few years, I believe, when some fresh blood climbs back up the division. But I'm just not ready to give up on Volk yet. Topuria is a threat. I have no doubts about that. And his youth and his hunger are going to be a huge potential banana skin for Volkanovski, who's coming off a really bad loss and is obviously, you know, reaching the twilight part of his career. In MMA, we always tend to see the great fighters fall when facing that final hurdle to be the greatest in their division of all time. Now, for me, Volk's already achieved that. However, I think he's going to come in, he's going to come back really focused and fresh to right the mistakes that have happened from last year. And I think he's going to beat Topuria and then possibly one more contender in 2024 before he talks about going up to have one more crack at lightweight and potentially grabbing that GOAT status. So yeah, this is one of the few divisions I'm going with, and still. Men's lightweight. Islam. I was going to troll here, but it's Islam. I don't think I really need to explain this, but you know, I will. I don't think Arman Sarukian's anywhere near his level. The same obviously goes for Beneil Dariush. Olives doesn't stand a hope based on what we know about that fight. Benoit Saint Denis is a fun up-and-coming prospect, but nah, he's got no chance of making it anywhere near the title. Certainly not this year. This is basically as big of a banker as it gets. Islam's going to retain with ease. And I have a strange feeling he's going to end up only fighting once or possibly twice this year. Possibly the second one coming at the end of the year. So yeah, I think this is pretty clear cut. Islam's going to retain the belt. I don't see anyone beating this guy for a long time. All right, men's welterweight. This one kind of comes down to two dudes for me. I think they're finally going to make Belal versus Edwards, and we get another decision masterclass from the champion. I've trolled Belal for as long as I can remember, and as funny as it's been to watch him beg and claim now that his CV is better than Kamaru's is just hilarious to me, but it is getting annoying now. I say just stick him in there in the first quarter of this year and let Edwards just finally shut this man up. For the love of God, do not put it at UFC 300 though. We know this is not going to be fun. Hopefully by saying that, I've guaranteed that it's fight of the year. So I'm looking back to, you know, people thumbnailing this and then absolutely smashing me at the end of the year when it turns out to be a banger. I then think with the rest of the division, things going on, I think they're going to give Shavkat one more guy to annihilate who possibly has a name. Colby Covington would be ideal. I'd like to see him get smashed, but we know he doesn't want any of Shavkat. He avoided him during the press conferences, hasn't said anything really bad about him. I don't think he'd take that fight. So based on the rankings, he could go with somebody like Gilbert Burns, or maybe he gets Ian Gary if he can get past Neil, and then those two have a title eliminator. Then I think at the end of the year, Shavkat Rakhmonov wins the belt off Leon Edwards in what's going to be, for me, a pretty close fight. For me, they're the only two fighters who can end the year as champion right now. I'd be very surprised if it's anyone else. Men's middleweight. Oh boy. I hate that I'm about to say this. I really hate that I'm about to say this. But I think regardless of who wins between Strickland and Duplessis in January, and I'm still kind of undecided on that one, I think that Jared Cannonier is going to end the year as champion. I'm joking, of course. I actually think that it's going to be Israel Adesanya. I think he's going to get his belt back by the end of the year. I hate this pick. I hate that guy. But I just don't think the guy's done yet. Like, I hope they make the fight with him and Chimaev, because I secretly dislike that guy more just because of what an utter hype job he is. Either way, I think that Izzy's going to get either the fight with Chimaev or a tune-up win, and then he's going to get the winner of Strickland and Duplessis by the end of the year, and we're going to get more nauseating memes and more TikTok grave dancing. I'm actively trying to actually wish this one out of potential existence, but yeah, I just think we're going to get another year with this man ending it on cloud 9. Just how I see it going. All right, so men's light heavyweight. I'm actually going to sound a little bit brain damaged for this pick. And again, it's another one that I hope is going to be completely wrong. I already used my wish token on Manel Cap, and I really want that one to happen. So I'm willing to use up my one wish of the year on that one. I think the fight between Hill and Pereira is kind of a little bit up on the air now with all the drama that's gone on with the domestic stuff with Hill. But if it does happen, which I still expect it to, I have a hard time picking who's going to win that one. So based on what could potentially happen in that fight, I've basically got two end-of-year contenders. Either way, I think that Ankalaev is going to absolutely destroy Johnny Walker, and this will somehow elevate the guy to a title fight, despite the fact that Walker's been flatlined by pretty much every decent fighter in the division, and has a fondness for jailbait teenagers, which, let's just not get into that. So yeah, I think if Hill beats Pereira, I think he's going to end the year as champion. Like, Hill's really underrated at being able to work his way up from his back, and Ankalaev will subsequently then get destroyed when standing with this man. I just think Hill is way better there. Alternatively though, if Alex beats Hill, I think Ankalaev is going to end the year as champion. Pereira's takedown defense is still not good enough, and Ankalaev has a bit of a chin. I think he will wet blanket his way to the most boring win imaginable over Alex Pereira. I can't really see any scenario playing out. I think if we get a full healthy Hill back, I'm going with him to beat Alex Pereira and then to go on to beat Ankalaev. If we don't, and Alex Pereira gets past Hill, I'm going to go with Ankalaev. I do think Alex is amazing, and it probably sounds like I'm just, writing him off here. But I do think we're going to go either way with an and new in the division by the end of 2024. All right, men's heavyweight. Some of you are not going to like this one, and I don't like this one. I think this one is going to end with a really big asterisk on it. It's probably going to annoy some people, but I'm going to keep it simple here. I think that John Jones is going to end the year as UFC heavyweight champion. Technically, still heavyweight champion. I honestly think that we're not going to get that Stipe fight until possibly the mid to third quarter of this year, which is so hypocritical of the UFC. It's unbelievable. I've promised I'm not going to curse on this one, so I'm going to stick to that. I do think he will beat Stipe in what will be a much closer fight than people expect, and then he doesn't immediately announce his retirement. I think he's then going to blue balls everybody into thinking he might take the Aspinall fight at some point, only to make us wait it out until 2025, where the UFC finally gets tired of his antics and then strips him. And then I think he's going to pretend to get mad and then retire undefeated and say he's the GOAT. That's exactly what I think is going to happen. I know it's a bit of an elaborate scenario that I'm playing out here, but I'm sure you can see the wisdom of this pick, knowing the kind of guy that John Jones is. That's how I see it going. So yeah, alright, as always, kindly like and subscribe and share the video if you wouldn't mind. I greatly appreciate it. Am I crazy for these picks? Am I being overly optimistic in some cases? Maybe I am. Let me know who you would have picked in the comments if you have anyone different in any category. Look out for more videos of this ilk. As I said, I've got a video with Making the Walk where we discuss the fights we would like to see in every division in 2024. That one gets a little bit wild, so I'm looking forward to publishing that one. Have a great rest of the week, and yeah, I'll see you for the next one. Peace.